Hello and welcome to the Property Management Masterclass, a 6-part podcast series brought to you by Holiday Cottage Handbook and Your AirHost. My name's James Varley, the founder of Holiday Cottage Handbook, and our goal is to explain everything you need to know about effective short-term rental hosting and management. Over the course of this series, we'll cover all the basics and share actionable tips to help you build a sustainable business and deliver an outstanding guest experience. In this 4th episode, we'll discuss the essentials of exceptional guest communication. Now, before we jump into our conversation with Stefan from Your AirHost, I want to share some exciting news. On November the 8th, we are hosting a free educational event in London aimed at short-term rental hosts and property managers. The event will feature panel sessions, seminars, and exhibitors from the industry, and it will be a fantastic opportunity to learn, network, and grow your short-term rental business. Places are limited, so be sure to register today at holidaycottagehandbook.com/Your AirHost. And if you're interested in exhibiting at the event, please reach out to me directly over email, james@holidaycottagehandbook.com. Hope to see you there. Thank you for joining us for episode 4 of the Property Management Masterclass, brought to you by Holiday Cottage Handbook and Your AirHost. It's time now to introduce our special guest, the man who's been there and done it in the short-term rentals world. Stefan Hoffelner is the CEO and co-founder of Your AirHost, which is the leading STR management company in London. Good to see you, Stefan. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, James. I'm really excited about these next few episodes. I think there's some great content in them, so should be super useful for anyone looking at short-term rentals.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. So today then we're going to discuss effective communication. So what are your top tips for communicating with guests after a booking is confirmed?
So after a booking is confirmed, I think the first thing that you want to do is let the guest know that you've received the booking and that's confirmed in the calendar. So you can do that immediately once the reservation is made, just to make sure that your guest is aware that everything is confirmed your side. I think that's a really nice first step. Then moving on to perhaps finding out a little bit of information about the guest. You can use that for your benefit to try and secure a good review. Just make the guest feel welcomed and put a smile on their face when they walk through the door. So at Your AirHost, we like to have personalized welcome cards for all the guests coming into our properties. And you can use that next step just to dig and find a little bit of information. So asking the guests the reasons for their stay, why they're coming. You'll find out that Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs are coming to your property to visit family in the area. And you can write those names in your personalized welcome card. It's just a really good trick to help put a smile on your guest's face when they enter your property. So the second step I would recommend is just doing a little bit of digging and using that for your information. It'll also be helpful to find out what times they're arriving, so on and so forth. So you can run through kind of all of those bits in your second message to them. And then the third message, we like to send this 24 hours before check-in, but it's up to you as to what's kind of convenient and works best for you. But you want to be sending your check-in instructions to the guests. So really clear and concise check-in instructions. Make sure that guests whose English isn't so great will be able to understand them and that they can have a really smooth check-in process. So before their booking kind of starts, I would recommend those three ports of communication to a guest. So that's confirming the reservation, doing a little bit of digging, and sending check-in instructions to the guest before arrival. If a guest books, if you take same day bookings and a guest kind of books the same day for their reservation, you can concise those all down into one. But if it's a booking made nice and plenty of time in advance, those are the 3 steps that I would recommend.
Once you get the booking, how important is it to respond quickly? And as a rule, how important is it to respond quickly once you get any sort of inquiry from your guest?
Yeah, it's one of the most important things that you can do. Guests that have to wait a long time for responses will look elsewhere for bookings. If there is a sort of original inquiry before a reservation is confirmed, the guest will just look elsewhere if you're not responding quickly enough. So again, general rule of thumb, within an hour, the booking platforms will actually mark you down if you're spending much longer than that replying to guests. So communication, this is an instant world of communication. People are really used to instant contact. So being quick is very important, and you don't want your listing to fall down the algorithm of all the booking platforms. You want to give yourself as much exposure as possible and fast and concise, effective communication is really important. So it's very much strongly recommended.
Where do you stand in terms of sending automated messages to guests?
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Confirming the booking with them in the initial stage, check-in instructions, they can all be done automated to your guests. You can use some nice software tools. I think even the platforms have some tips and tools on how you can do that through there as well. So I would definitely recommend using it. Again, messages that you're sending, which are standard ports of calls, check in, check out instructions. I would recommend using automated messages, so it's not something that you have to bog yourself down with doing and have to repeat with every single guest. It's a great tool that'll help save you some time. So I would really recommend doing it.
In terms of sharing check-in instructions, I often get some guests who want to know the instructions straight away. Some are happy knowing them a week before, you're sending them a day before. Do you sometimes need to be flexible, or is it best just to have a simple, we send them 24 hours before?
Look, I think being flexible is it's important in this game. I've said this time and time again, and it's one of the things that I repeat all the time on a daily basis. Securing that good review is really important. So if you're able to confirm the check-in instructions and a guest asks a week before, if you know that, for example, the lockbox code isn't going to change, that there's going to be no last-minute alterations, that you're not going to take a booking beforehand, you kind of know your schedule, you know exactly what the format is going to be, sure, then send them if you're able to do so. Sometimes plans will change, reservations will change. You're not going to be able to welcome them at a certain point in time. So you might want to delay that so that you're not confirming wrong information and information that you have to change with a guest, which may be a sort of point of annoyance for them. So then you might have to wait. But if you're able to, and you're able to stick to those confirmed plans, of course, do the best that you can to secure that good review. It's the most important thing out of all of these steps.
Just talk to us more about the value of asking questions to your guest and finding out why they're visiting. And then a follow on from that, what can you do as the host to improve their guest experience by knowing why they're going to be visiting?
It's going to sort of benefit you from two separate angles. It'll benefit you to give you information to help the guest journey and help the guest experience. So, for example, if a guest has a special kind of requirement for access, that wheelchair access, whatever it might be, it'll help you pre-plan for your guest, and it'll help you give them the best service that you possibly can. Going back to the point that I made in the beginning, it'll help you, write a simple welcome note. So it'll help give you information to help your guest journey, which is only going to help the performance of your short-term rental in the long term. Also, as well, if a guest is staying for the wrong reasons, it'll help you, if you're asking the right questions, it'll help you ascertain that very quickly. So if you are taking one night stays on a Saturday night, but you don't want to party, I would thoroughly recommend ringing your guest and asking them some questions about their reason for stay, who will be staying in the property, just to help put your mind at ease that it's a legitimate traveller who's staying for the right reasons, as opposed to somebody that wants to come and use your property for reasons that break your house rules.
I'm sure there are many hosts and property managers out there who have had plenty of guests who never respond. They never send a message about why they're coming. They get the information, they go, they've paid the bill and everything's done. What do you do in that scenario? Do you try and take extra steps to make contact, or do you just kind of leave them to it?
I think you have to, yeah. I think there's a fine line between being too much with them and being too annoying with them. If they don't want to contact you, again, that, really that's their prerogative. But I would recommend reaching out to them via the platform, mainly trying to keep all the communication as much as possible on the platform. I'd recommend reaching out to them by phone and perhaps trying WhatsApp as well. If the guest has chosen not to respond to all those three ports of contact, it's frustrating, because you're trying to help them and you're trying to organize their welcome, organize their stay, maybe put additional stuff in the property for them. You're trying to help and trying to make their stay better. But if a guest chooses not to respond to you, unfortunately there's not much that you can do about it. So I would move on after trying those three ports of call with them.
How effective are communication tools like digital guidebooks? And one thing I'm seeing more and more of now is AI tools, which are automatically responding to any guest query. And, if you've got a question about where the ironing board is, the AI will be able to respond immediately. So, would you recommend using a digital guidebook?
Yeah, I definitely would. You can have the best sort of house manual created. You can have the best, check-in instructions that you've pre-written out. The second a guest who's checking in from Japan, from India, whose English isn't their first language, it's going to be really, really, really tricky for them to understand. The digital guidebooks will help with that, and the AI can also help with that. Google Translate as well can help with that. The AI, I've seen it come along in the last year, just it's leaps and bounds. It really is so much better. The tools now will trawl your previous answers. So using your sort of point of an ironing board, if the ironing board is located in a certain place, it'll go through all your previous communications with guests when that question's been asked for before, and pull the answer out and make it personalized to the guest. So, that kind of stuff has really hit us within the last 12 months. And from what I'm told, it's only going to get better. So it is a useful tool that you can use, particularly while you're asleep. If you're a one-man band managing your short-term rental, it can really help maintain those quick response times when you're out of hours. You're not going to be available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There will be times when you're asleep. There'll be times when, you're at a commitment that you can't answer your phone. And that AI tool at the moment, it's a very good backup, which can be used for yourself. It perhaps wasn't, 12, maybe 2 years ago, but it's just that technology is moving forward so fast. So it will only get better. So it is a useful tool. It can help, and it would be something that I would definitely look at doing if I was a one-man band, to be my backup as such, and could help me when I'm out of hours. It's definitely good enough to cover the hours, and it's better than not responding. That is for sure.
You've mentioned a few times in our chats about the video tutorials that you have for your guests. So just talk us through the type of things that are included in those videos.
Access is the first one. So keys, showing them which key goes in which door. If you've got a couple of sort of locks on the door, that the yellow one goes in the top and the blue one goes in the bottom as such, and showing them which way the keys turn. How the doors lock. So English lock, sometimes you need to pull the handle up. Foreign guests, they've just never seen that before. So they'll often come before we had done the video instructions, say the lock isn't working, it's not locking. But that clear kind of concise video, little 10-second thing of how to operate the lock really goes a long way. You also want to show things like, how to operate the heating, how to, where the Wi-Fi is sort of kept, and how to log on to it. Those sort of steps are really, really important. And then if you've got any quirk in the property, we call them a quirk. So, you need to kick the boiler once on the left and tap it twice on the right before it fires up. Just communicating that to your guests. It's like you're there and you're showing them that. The other ones that I find are, incidental things like using a coffee machine or something, if that's a bit tricky, just putting really clear kind of concise videos out there, and communicating them to your guests. It goes a long way, and it makes it feel slightly more professional as well. So it shows that you've thought about it, and it helps their journey.
How often should you communicate with guests during their stay? And also, what about before they check out? What kind of things should you be sharing?
So look, I think it's really important to be personal with your guests. I think that's one of the kind of, the best pieces of advice that I can give is to be personal. So I like to make sure that we're on the phone with them after they've checked in. So check-in is usually kind of between 3 and 5. So just making sure, if it's a remote kind of service, that the guest has checked in, that they're safe, that they're comfortable, that they have everything that they need. I like to do that with a phone call. I think it's slightly more personal than sending a message across. If you're not able to get them, you can shoot the message across, and that's fine. But definitely like to check in with the guests that they've arrived, that they're safe, and that they have everything that they need on the first day. After that, if they're not contacting you, I would kind of recommend leaving them to it until it's time to check out. And then you can send all the instructions that are helpful with the checkout. Look, the bins, if you need to go here on when you leave, this is where you leave the keys. Really enjoyed hosting you, and kind of sum up any other bits that you think are necessary for the guest to check out.
In the final messages that you send, a couple of things. How can you make sure that guest potentially books direct? And would you also prompt them to give you a good review?
Definitely, the answer is strongly yes to both. At Your AirHost, we like to send all of our guests who have stayed in all of our properties a coupon to book again direct. So really hope you've enjoyed your stay. Thanks very much for coming. Here is a coupon where you can have £100 off next time. If you leave a positive review on these platforms, we'll give you £150 off. So just a little incentive there for the guest to leave a positive review. A 5-star review, which will help with your listing. It'll help, with your short-term rental. And also, again, if they're coming back and booking directly with you the next time, you can start to build up your little black book of clients, keeping them in MailChimp, keeping them reminded. You'll have their details, hopefully. You'll have their email, their phone number, so you can send out kind of messages to all the guests that have stayed in your property before. Book direct. If you've got a week that's unbooked, you can say, flash sale, we're slashing prices here for this week. You can just always kind of contact your previous guests that have stayed in your property and let them know that, you've got a discount on it. So it's a good point to send them a coupon. You'll get the direct booking hopefully back if that guest chooses to come back and stay, and also it'll incentivize reviews, which will encourage further bookings moving forward. So those 2 points are really important and a step that I would 100% recommend that all short-term rental hosts take.
Just final thing in relation to communication, how important is it to have some communication actually within the rental where you could potentially advertise, here you can book direct, for example?
Yeah. What we choose to do is put a QR code, which takes you through to the house manual, and it has a book direct link on there as well. So I really couldn't recommend it enough. Your guests, obviously traveling, they're obviously coming to the area. It may be a one-off, but if it's not, you want to be in the forefront of their mind. So you can use any sort of trick. A QR code, everyone now is used to kind of scanning them, and you can use it to incorporate the house manual as well as the kind of book direct stuff. So putting your direct booking website on there, a link to that is going to be really helpful. And it's going to help you as well, maybe collect some data from the guests. You can use your Wi-Fi as well for that they've got to put their email address. And again, just collecting that data and using that to remarket to them, it's going to be really useful, and it's only going to bring you more money.
All right, that's just about it for episode 4 of the Property Management Masterclass. In episode 5, we'll be focusing on those all-important guest reviews. Catch the episode on our website, YouTube channel, or your favourite podcast platform. And if you'd like to meet us both in person, make sure you join us for our free educational event for short-term rental hosts and property managers in London on November the 8th. Places are limited. Head to holidaycottagehandbook.com/Your AirHost to register. For more free education, tips and trends from the STR industry, head to holidaycottagehandbook.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcast series, and download a free ebook for hosts and property managers. And if you have rentals in London which require expert management, make sure you get in touch with Stefan and his team. Head to yourairhost.co.uk for further details. Call 0203 280 2975 or email hello@yourairhost.co.uk. That's it for episode 4. We'll see you soon.